What's up, guys and gals? Solving some story problems using the quadratic formula here. Get my sheet out here. So it says an object is launched from a 20-foot high platform with a velocity of 90 feet per second. How many seconds will it hit its target that's 10 feet above the ground? So we're finding the seconds. So my units are feet and seconds. So x is my seconds and y is my feet. So per feet per second. And the feet per second in the problem is 90 feet per second. So once you have that, cross it out. Okay, now an object's going to come up and it's going to come back down, and that means gravity plays a part in pulling it back down. Now what I need to do is label the beginning point. So before 90 feet per second, I see we have 20 feet, okay? And then it lands, after the 90 feet per second, it lands at 10 feet, okay? So 0 is not there. So I set up my equation. You need a big box for that whenever you're dealing with work with a parabola. And when I see it go that way, we need a blank x to the second, and then I continue on down. So plus blank x plus blank equals y. Okay? So in this blank here is my gravity. Okay? So remember, gravity, it's not in the problem, but gravity's always negative 16. So negative 16 takes that blank, and then the feet per second, 90, goes in the next blank. You can't get them mixed up. Then we started at 20 feet, so I fill that with 20, and then 10 feet takes the place of the y variable. Okay, and now I'm going to solve. So x has two answers because it is to the second power in the equation. Now what do I need to use to solve it? Well, do I have any x's not to the second power? Yeah, this x on the 90. So I need to make sure it's set. And then my box is set, means I need to see a 0, but I don't see a 0. Okay? So what I do is I set it myself. So again, reline up your blanks. And you put equals 0. So for x to the second, I got negative 16. That's the only x to the second I have. For x, I have 90. Now for non-x, I have 20 and 10, but they're on different sides. You can't just take 20 plus 10 and put 30 here. So you write a plus on that 10, and then you're going to minus it from your 20. Don't put it under the line because I don't want people to think they're dividing it. You're minusing it. 20 minus 10 is 10. And now I set up my three-term factoring. So the GCF, and then the t-table. So remember the three things on a GCF to check for. You check for the negative in front. It's there. You see if you have x on all three, you don't. Okay? And then the GCF itself. So I will need the negative, okay? Because the 16 is negative. So I go negative and then negative under all the lines. Okay, so we obviously need to do the GCF. Okay, now I don't need x because x is not on everything. Okay, so we get rid of that. And then the GCF out of 16, 90, and 10, I'm going to need to use my GCF calculator. Get to it. Okay, so 16, 90, and 10. Gives me 2. Okay? So negative 2 is a GCF. It will not have x, though. Okay? So put a 2 with the negative and then just divide everything. So we take negative 16. Here, I'll show you the calculator. Make sure you got it. So I take negative 16 divided by negative 2, and that's positive 8. And then the x to the second is still connected to the 8. Then I take positive 90 divided by negative 2, and that's negative 45. So minus 45, x is connected to 45. And then I take positive 10 divided by negative 2, and that's negative 5. Okay, so I go A, B, C right there, not from here. So I take A times C, a couple things. 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. So I got negative 40, so I'm going to minus to try to come to 45, which is negative. Okay. 1 and 40. 40 minus 1 is 45, is 39, so I can't use that. Now I divide 40 by 2, I get 20. 20 minus 2 is 18. 40 divided by 3 is a decimal. 40 divided by 4 is 10, so I put 4 and 10. But 10 minus 4 is 6. I'm getting not even close to 45. 40 divided by 5 is 8, okay? 8 minus 5 is 3. Then I divide 40 by 6. Nope. By 7. Nope. And then why would I do 8 when I already have that on the other side of the table? It's just going to be 8 and 5. Okay? So this is fail, and all the problems in this packet are fail. So that's how you know. So you have to use your quadratic formula. Okay? Opposite of B, plus or minus the square root B squared minus 4A and C, B squared, and then over 2A, over 2A. So here's my A, B, C. So the opposite of B would be positive 45. Okay, I got to switch that. That's the only one I have to switch to the opposite. Now B is the negative 45, so I put a negative 45 above that parentheses, negative 45, negative 45. And then 4, well, A is 8, okay? And C is negative 5. Okay, and then A is 8, okay? So all the letters have to be replaced with the numbers. So again, my first move is take 2 times 8, and that's 16. Okay, then I got to find out what the square root. So I add a parentheses at the beginning. I should do that every time. So I go second, and then 4 digits up, 4 keys, 2 parentheses, and then negative 45, close the parentheses. And second power, again, that's 4 keys up, just right there. And then a subtraction sign. And then a 4, an 8, and a negative 5. Okay, 46.74. So cross that out. Now circle the 45, the plus minus, the 46.74, and the 16. That's all I have left. So I take 45 plus 46.74, hit equals, and divide by 16. So that's 5.73. Now I take 45 minus 46.74 equals, because I cross the plus sign out, and then I divide by 16, negative 0.10. Okay, now the higher answer is the 5.73, so that's my answer to this problem, 5.73 seconds. Okay, next page is blank. Now here's the next one. A baseball is hit with an initial velocity of 80 feet per second from a height of 5 feet. After how many seconds is the ball on the ground at 0 feet? So again, we're dealing with feet and seconds. X is seconds, Y is feet. So my feet per second rate is, gotta say per second, is 80. Okay, also I screwed this up. The 5 feet should take place before the 80 feet per second. Okay, I screwed that up, my bad. Okay, so we know how a baseball travels. It goes up, comes down. Cross the 80 out because I know what that is. Now before 80 feet per second we started at 5 feet, and after 80 feet per second we're at 0 feet. Okay, I like seeing that 0 there. So big box, so blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank. Anytime I'm dealing with a parabola, that's how to line it up, equals y. So this is the gravity, and gravity is always negative 16 in front of the x squared. Even though that's not in the problem, I put negative 16. And the feet per second's 80. And my starting height's 5 feet. And 0 feet equals the y. Okay. Okay, so I'm solving for x. X has 2 answers. Is there any x not to the second? Yep, right there. So that's going to be the set boxes method. So we see the 0, so that means we're set. Okay, so now I make my boxes. There's 3 terms. So I don't have to mess around setting it myself. Okay, not here. GCF and the table. Okay, so the GCF, well, we have a negative, again, negative x and then the GCF. Well, am I going to need a negative? Yeah, because that 16 is negative. So I put negative, 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 negative. Okay, I won't need x because not all these have x. There's an x there, but not here. So no. And then I GCF 16, 80, and 5. And I get a 1 GCF. So negative 1's a GCF, but I got to actually do it because there's a negative there. So that's positive 16x to the second. If we divide a positive 80 by a negative 1, it switches the positive 80 to negative 80x. And then that's going to switch to negative 5. Okay? So, A, B, C. So I take positive 16 times negative 5 to get negative 80. Okay. So we got a negative, so we're minusing, trying to get 80. This is going to fail, I will tell you right now. They all fail. And on tests, I will tell you the ones that fail, the ones that don't, so don't worry about that. Okay. So I have to use my quadratic formula. Opposite of b, plus or minus d square root b squared, squared means second power, minus 4ac over 2a over 2a. Okay, so here's my a, my b, my c. So the opposite of the b, the opposite of negative 80 is positive 80. And then b. B itself is negative 80. Then I have A, which is 16. C, which is negative 5. Remember, you got to get the 5 in as a negative. Okay? And then 2 times A, but A is 16. Okay, so first I take 2 times 16. And that's 32. Okay, so I've got 80 plus or minus with 32, but I got to figure out that square root. So I go second, 4 keys up, parentheses is doubled. Negative 80, close the parentheses, and second power is just the same key, but don't hit second. And then minus 4, 16, and negative 5. Okay, I got 81.97. Okay, now I'm ready to do my math. I take 80 plus 81.97. You got to click equals and then hit divide by the number on the bottom, 32. 5.06. And then that wipes out the plus. And then I take 80 and subtract 81.97. Click equals. Divide by 32 is negative 0.06. Okay, so the higher answer is 5.06, and there we have it. Okay, cross out this football's punt, the 1.5 seconds, cross that out. I don't want you dealing with that. That one's a different kind of problem. Okay. Okay, football's punted from a height of 3 feet above the ground with an initial velocity of 45 feet per second. Find how many seconds it takes our football to reach a height of 25 feet. So there's my seconds. So I got feet and seconds. X is seconds, Y is feet. So feet per second is 45 feet per second. Takes care of that. And we know what a football does. It goes up, comes down. Okay? So I label my endpoints. Now before it accelerated upward, before 45 feet per second, we have 3 feet. And then after 45 feet, it ends up at 25 feet. So I construct my big box, and now is the equation. Blank x squared plus blank x plus blank equals y. Again, this is my gravity, negative 16. My x is the 45. Now we start at 3 feet, and we end at 25 feet. So 25 is going in for y. Okay, so the equation, x has 2 answers, 2. Now we also have this x that isn't to the second, so we have to make sure we're set and then make our boxes. Well, set means I need to see the 0, and I don't see it, so I need to set it myself. 0. So x squared, we have negative 16. X, we have 45. Now for non-x's, we have 3 and 25, but I got to combine them. They have to be on the same side. So I put a plus 25 and I subtract it, and now I have 0. But then I have to subtract it after 3. So I take positive 3 minus 22 is negative 9. 3 minus 25 is negative 22. Okay, so now I set up my boxes. Greatest common factor. And the t. Okay. So negative x, and then the actual GCF out of the 3 big numbers. So the negative is in front, so negative, 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 negative. Then x, I won't have an x because 22 here at the end, the final number in the equation doesn't have x. Okay, now I GCF 16, 45, and 22. Okay, I got 1. But it's negative, so I got to actually do that, okay? So that switches to positive 16. When you're dividing by 1, it stays the same, but the sign switches. And that goes from plus 45 to minus 45x, and from negative 22 to positive 22. Okay, so I take a times c. 16 times 22 is 352. Couple things here. Positive. So you try to add to 45, but what did I tell you? They're not going to work. I did not. You will never find it. Okay? Fail. So quadratic form, if you want to just put fail right away, that's good. So opposite of b, plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, so this is my ABC right there. So the opposite of negative 45 is positive 45. That's the only one you switch to opposite. Then B is negative 45. Then 4A, A is 16, positive. C is 22, positive, so 22. Then get this A out of there, and A is 16. And 2 times 16 is 32 again. So I got 45, the plus, minus, and 32. Now we got to figure out that square root. So I go double the parentheses at the beginning. So I go second, 4 keys up, 2 parentheses, then negative 45, close it, second power it, minus, and then a 4. A 16, and a 22. Okay, that's 24.83. 24.83. Okay, so I take 45 plus operation, 24.83, hit equals, and then hit divided by 32. 2.18. Then I take 45 minus 24.83 equals, divide by 32, and that's 0.63. Now they're both positive, but the higher one is 2.18. Okay, a football's punted from a height of 5 feet with a velocity of 60 feet per second. After how many seconds will it be caught at a height of 6 feet? So again, I've got feet and seconds. So per feet per second is 60. Okay. Now, before 60 feet per second, how many feet do we have? We have 5 feet from the start. And after that, we have 6 feet at the end. Okay? So, big thing. So, blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank equals y. So, remember what gravity is. And then 60. Then 5, and then 6 feet takes the place of the y variable because feet is y. That's where it goes. So we have 2 answers here. We also have an x not to the second, so we have to do our set boxes method. But we're not set because I don't see 0. If I see 0 there, I make my boxes, but I don't see it, so I need to set it myself. Blank x squared plus blank equals 0. So for x second, you got negative 16. For x, you got 60. For non-x's, you have these two, but you can't add 5 and 6. You make that plus and switch it to minus, and now you got 0. But then you have to minus 6 from the 5. And 5 minus 6 is negative 1. Okay, so now I have my 3 terms. So GCF followed by my table. So GCF, we have the negative x and then the GCF itself. Well, we're going to need negative. We will not need x because the last number here doesn't have x. If it did, I'd be putting x there with my negative. And then GCF, you're 16, 60, and 1, but I think if 1's one of the numbers, it's just 1, okay? But it is negative 1, so we actually go through with the process. So negative divided by negative is positive 16x squared. Positive divided by negative is a negative 60x. Then a negative 1 divided by a negative 1 is positive 1. A, B, C. So I take 16 times positive 1. Remember, your ABC needs to be done from the GCF, okay? So 16 times positive 1 is positive 16, so that's an add to try to get to 60 negative, which is impossible because 1 and 16, 16 plus 1 is 17. Well, that's already too low to get to 60, so that's fail. They're all fail. So opposite of B, plus or minus. By the way, set up your table, get it set up, but then it fails. Just put fail. You'd never find it. So parentheses B to the second minus 4A and C over 2 and A. So the opposite of the B is positive 60. Then B is negative 60. And then 4, and then A is positive 16, and then C is positive 1, okay, and then A is 16. So 2 times 16 is 32, so we got a 60, a plus minus, and then 32. So we have to figure out our square root, so I add a parentheses at the beginning. I go second, 2 parentheses up, double it, and then negative 60 is my first number. I close the parentheses and raise it to the second power. You got to remember the second power. Minus, and then a 4, a 16, and a positive 1. And I got 59.46. So now I see the three numbers I'm working with. I add 60 plus 59.46 equals, divide by 32, 3.73. And then I take 60 minus 59.46 equals, divide by 32, 0.01. Now my higher answer is the one I want to roll with. So 3.73.